Good to spend some time with Coach Derek Mason again. And D, it's been, God, January, February, March is just kind of crazy. I think the last time I saw you before we sat down here was down at Uncle Nearest. And let's kind of kick it off with that. And kind of a very unique event for the NIL. Great synergy between athletics and College of Media and Entertainment. Very unique event. And I think football programs are going to have to get creative. And that's a perfect example of how to do it.
Yeah, as we step into this new NIL space, just looking at what that opportunity meant for us, a partnership with Uncle Nearest, obviously is always something that I mean you look forward to because you're trying to partner with businesses, right? Local businesses that have brand recognition. But for us, just a songwriters night, getting our fan base, people who are interested in what we're doing. What is the collective? Just trying to answer some questions about how is this thing that we call a collective working and how does it work with college athletics? But to kick it off with a songwriters night, it was a special night. It was something for us that I think is sort of a watershed moment when you have an opportunity to talk about how you kicked it off. This is how we kicked it off. And so people will go back to, in 2025 and talk about what happened, like the day before Valentine's Day, which I thought was a memorable moment.
Yeah, perfect timing for it. But what's your vision of how to where would you like to see that grow to?
You know what? We're moving into this space where athletics is generating revenue up and down the board. So whether we talk about a kickoff event yearly, I mean, like that may be something that's in the works, but we know as I look at the historical Murphy Center, when I look at our stadium, there's opportunities when you are in and around Nashville to talk about concert series. And I know that was something that we talked about when I first got here, but now we're starting to kick that thing off and move it in a different direction where you're going to start seeing some things happen around this campus where entertainment, music, and sports sort of connect. So I'm looking forward to more opportunities. I know Chris is as well. So here we go.
Well, as long as I've been around all this, all the athletes want to be musicians, and
do.
all the musicians want to be athletes. Isn't that right?
That's facts. That's facts.
What's Derek's routine in January, February, March once you get the portal closed and try to get ready for spring ball? What's it like?
Getting to know our football team, I think is important. Now, you just went through a phase where you recruited a fair number of student athletes for a long period of time, others in a short period of time, especially now with free agency, right? So just getting to know these guys, sit down, have them know you, let them tell their stories and let you tell them about MTSU and actually rather than tell, show them, right? Because what is the culture? What are we built on? Where have we been? Where are we trying to go? What do you have to own? All these things are sort of pieces, educational pieces of understanding your team understanding you, and you guys starting to build, that synergy that it takes to be able to conquer a fall because we practice more than we play, right? So right. It's all about starting to understand how are we looking to build this together.
Yeah, and also it's now your second time of going through everything here.
That's right.
You kind of learned where the bodies are buried a little bit, so to speak. What did you learn in year one on this campus and in this community?
I think year ones are always fast and furious because there's a lot of things coming at you, and I think you're having to digest not only the ball but the community. How do you fit into it? I thought for me, just understanding or getting to understand what Murfreesboro is, the people around Murfreesboro, who they are. What do they believe in? What do they want? You listen to that because that helps drive like where you want to go, right? Because they are a pure fabric of what you're trying to build around this place. It's not just your team. It's who are those folks supporting your team. And I thought for us, we were able to get into in great space, talk to a lot of people, visit with a lot of folks, and then really just start to put our imprint on some things. Now, granted, the season didn't necessarily go the way we wanted to, but that was okay. I think I understood that with no NIL, understanding the short recruiting window, not knowing what was in the cupboards. All these things are they can go one or two ways. It generally goes really good, okay, or not the way you wanted it to go. For us, it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but we learned a lot, enough to make sure that those subtle changes are the things that sort of spearhead, like this renewed energy of what we have to be in 2025.
That being said, and learning Conference USA, after a year and changes in whether it's strategically recruiting or the way you go about, playing offense, defense, how do you feel about year two as far as the football side of things?
Yeah. Second time around as a head coach, I think you look at it a little differently, right? My first time around, I blew it all up.
You had major changes after year one.
I did.
Not the case.
Not the case. I looked at it differently. I was like, okay, continuity matters, right? And then the second piece was I felt like our schemes didn't always fit our players, and with that, did we know our players enough? What we thought we knew coming out of spring wasn't what we saw, heading into the fall. And it kept evolving. I mean, it never went the way we wanted it to go. And so with that being the case, we knew that we had to upgrade our talent. I mean, that was part of it. The blame wasn't on the student athlete. It's always us. I think coaches have to shoulder, whether you get it done or don't get it done. But I tell you what you do have an opportunity to do now. You have an opportunity to change personnel. And I thought we needed that in a way that was going to truly impact the way we were going to play the game.
While you did pretty much stay the course with your staff, Calvin Lowry, Josh Smith gained some additional opportunities.
Right. I have a lot of good coaches on our staff, truly. I think Pascal's one of the best, special teams coordinators in the country, let alone Conference USA, as he showed a year ago, right? But you can go up and down it, and I know the numbers don't always show that, but what I got from Josh in this space, and I'll talk about Josh first because I'm a defense guy. I'll talk about Josh first. I thought Josh a year ago was a QC, but in this day and age, let's talk about what he really is. He's an outside linebacker coach, man, who has to take on more of a pronounced coaching role for us when we talk about these rush ends, these defensive ends. I think we have some good ones, but like sort of pulling the Band-Aid off a little bit and just letting our guys go and letting them play. I think when you have one person doing it, we have 13, 14, 15 defensive linemen in a room. That wasn't it. I thought Josh needed more of a presence in there along, with Pops. And, Coach Hargraves does a terrific job, but it's bigger than one man. And I think what we're going to see is the fruits of that because those two, they talk the same language, but their energy, is off the wall. So for me, I wanted to see that. And, with Lowry, I just think when you watch the running back tape, if you go back and watch the running back tape and what he did with those running backs, but what we need to do in the run game, I needed to elevate his profile and have him a little more involved with Coach Reeder because I think those are two great minds. And I felt that as we were going through the cut-ups and looking at the tape, but it became more pronounced as we sat down and talked ball. I think those guys feed off each other. I think they're going to do a terrific job of being able to establish the physical downhill run game that we want. And with that being said, it was just the right time.
Well, and they're two of the most organized guys
they are.
I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So you know that it's going to be a single voice when it comes to those two.
Well, that's what you want. That's what you get. And if I felt like it was going to be something that overwhelmed and did not, add value, I wouldn't have went in that direction. But I thought for us as we got through it, much value, much experience, and it's easier when you have four eyes, two brains sitting down talking about what they see on tape. It's just that easy.
Yeah. Talking about personnel now, 38 newcomers, 23 already in school, which means they've got to learn the Blue Raider way of doing things, whether it's workouts, whether it's how you attend meetings, go to class, all that kind of stuff. What's impressed you so far?
Well, our high school athletes, a couple of high school athletes that have been here have impressed because they've come into a space where, generally it's overwhelming. When I look at Kyle Larkin, he's coming to this place, and you know what? I'm noticing Kyle. I notice what he does. Stanley, I notice, him in that room and how, he's pushing, Roman like in this space. Okay, man, and making our guys understand. I don't care how young you are, you can impact this roster, right? And I think like anything else, anytime you go out and you have a balanced recruiting class, because I called it balanced. We had 18 high school student athletes recruited, and then when you start to talk about the junior college versus transfer portal, we had a great mix. And I think those guys, those older guys have come in, and fill spots and try to solidify, not only the depth, but the experience. They work like older guys. They talk like older guys. And you know what? None of these guys have backed down from the work. I couldn't necessarily say that a year ago because it was a lot of new. Well, these guys have come into the new, but you have these returners who understand, and these other guys who are meeting the expectation. So that part of it is extremely exciting for Blue Raider football.
Yeah, and it's no secret that you had to get better up front, both sides of the football, and when you look at both the high school recruiting class and as you call them, the free agents, it's very easy to see that you wanted to get better up front, and that size across the board was going to be a big deal.
We needed it.
Yeah.
Across the board, we went, we looked. When you look at guys like E.J. Harris and Jacob Otts, those guys have vast playing experience. They've played football. They came to a place where they felt like their impact was going to be immediate, and we needed that. As I look at Daniel and Toyano, and Daniel right now, I think is somebody, man, who's catching eyes because experience, right? Experience matters in this. So we got bigger, we got athletic up front. We knew we needed to do that. And we have some other pieces to go along with that, and I'm just waiting to see what everybody looks like. But even when I look at guys like Matthias, right, when I look at Malachi Donaldson, he's a dude who's going to put up big numbers. But I'm also expecting a guy like Reggie, Johnson, who was here, who didn't play a lot last year. Those guys are walking around together, and they look like a dynamic duo. So I just think, what we've done in our recruiting in the last year has really put this group in position. You want to talk about experience? I do like the idea of having, Alex Mitchell, like in the middle. I look at what Jaden, brings, to that middle linebacking core along with Parker. We're talking about guys who have size, athleticism, production, right? And we can go on about other guys, but that's what I wanted in this group. I needed guys and who had experience, who had played in ball games, and they know what it's like, like to play football. So we're not starting from scratch. We need guys who have played at different levels, who actually study the game of football, live the game of football, and want to play the game of football.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a blessing when you have a guy like Nick Vattiato returning as your starter, a guy who has been through the wars, and it's pretty obvious you recruited to keep him upright.
Yeah.
10 offensive linemen so far.
So far, I think it comes back to this, right? When a quarterback such as Nick, man, who's had consecutive, been 3,000-plus seasons, stays. He stays because he believes in, what you're going to do. I think I'm a man who's going to do exactly what he says he's going to do, and I think Nick believed enough in me to stay. So all I could do was to make sure that I keep him upright. Okay, and not only keep him upright, establish a run game for him. Because if you want to talk to a quarterback about, what's needed in order for him to have success, anytime you can run the football, okay, it sort of invites guys into the box, and we know Nick is surgical, when he has time, okay, and when he knows where to go with the football. So with that, these 10 new guys are important to what we're going to look to do. Last year, we said we wanted to be a physical downhill run team. We couldn't run the football. So, was that wishful thinking? Maybe. But now we want to be a physical downhill run team who can take those shots, and we're going to take those shots. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you had a couple of guys last year, in the pass game that you had to rely on all year long to give you chances throughout the season. you lost a lot of production there through graduation, and as we all know, the portal giveth and the portal taketh away.
That's right.
But you've got new guys coming in. So who do you like? What do you give? Let's hear, what about some names before spring ball? No pressure. So because there's a lot of new faces out there.
Well, it's hard to replace, Hunter. Mm-hmm. Or, not Hunter. Hunter's coming in.
Holden Willis.
It's hard to replace Holden, right? But I think Hunter and Tavion both bring different elements to the game. Bigger, okay? But I think they have to know and understand that they're going to have to fill some of that 820-something plus yards or 37 plus yards, in the pass game, but we want to be able to run the ball, and if we run the ball, we got more plays, right? So there's more to go around. Outside, you look at Tyree Patterson. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I do, very much like Amari. I think A.J. Jones has showed me exactly what he's capable of doing, since he's been here. Played at Arizona last year, was a little under the radar, but, he's got some Deebo Samuels in him, and I like that, right? We're talking, some names a little bit. And then when you look at it, Najee, he's so long and fast. We haven't had length and speed like that here. I think he ran like 22.8, okay, like getting clocked when they were in a short shuttle run. And so when you start talking about 22.8 miles per hour, you're putting yourself in pretty good company, especially, at 6'4", right? I like all these receivers. I like the tight ends. I understand what we have up front on the offensive line. The corners, we need a length. And
had to go get it.
Yeah, Jordan Chestnut, Devin Carlisle, those dudes are long. They're physical. Okay, Kalen. I look at Kalen. We actually had a surprise with, John House coming back. And John House is back in the fold now. So when you talk about the experience of guys played, he has to play better, but I think he felt like once he saw who was here and what it looked like, he wanted to come back. And then I just look at some of these other guys at the safety position. Jawan Gaston, I recruited Jawan to Auburn. Okay, he wound up going to Houston, but I've watched him play. I know what he's capable of, and again, these experiences, guys played football. Having played football, bring a different essence and sort of swagger to what we do. You can see it out there on the practice field right now. It just looks different, and we're just going through walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. Communication is not a one-man job, and these guys know how important it is. And so right now, I'm excited for all of them, but we haven't won any games or lost any games. So let's see what spring looks like.
Let's talk about another guy who has played and is back. Parker Hughes. You're a defensive guy.
Yeah.
You've got to love Parker Hughes. He's not going to win the biggest player award. May not win the fastest player award, but he may win the best football player award because he's just got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him. I'm going to bring up some names because there's he's like guys that I've had in the past that play that position. When I look at like Oren Burks, who just won a Super Bowl, okay, with the Philadelphia Eagles, played with Reed Blankenship. When he played that will linebacker position, very similar. Great instincts, heavy production. Zach Cunningham played the same will position, a lot of production, right? He has those same instincts. I think he's bigger than what people give him credit for. He's hovered around 224. He knows that he needs to be in the 230s. And right now, that's what he's working towards. But when you talk about fast, he's not a 4.6 guy. He's a low 4.5 guy. So when you talk about matchups and coverage, his ability to blitz, his ability to play in short zones, he has the whole package. If he has the type of year,
his football knowledge makes him faster too.
It makes him faster. He sees it before it happens. So if he has the type of year that we all want him to have, you'll be hearing his name next year, when they're talking about combine invite, Senior Bowl invite. He's going to have all these accolades. I think right now he's focused on trying to get to know his teammates because he's playing with some new guys that have experience. But a lot of times you're only as good as the dudes that are around you. So in order for him to play well, those guys got to play well, especially up front.
Yep. And speaking of those guys up front, you do return 4 guys who have a ton of experience up there. The Killer Bees, Bynum and Buckner, and then
Right.
you got DeMonte Smith, who really shone through at certain points of the season, and Shakai Woods, who was like a lightning bolt here and there.
Yeah.
And you're ready for him to be the full storm now.
I am, but we still haven't gotten to, the depth of what that room looks like.
Right.
I mean, you talk about it. I mean, we got Felix Hickson there. You got Tyon Robinson. You got Zion Simpson. Okay, we have a lot of guys up front in that room, and when you have rotational depth, you actually can now not have to play an Anthony Bynum, 57 snaps as a true sophomore. Right? I mean, he was playing
57 out of 73 or whatever
that's
on a
a
night.
lot of snaps for a young guy.
Yeah.
But who else was young? Shakai was young. Felix Hickson was young. DeMonte, when you talk about, he's been here a long time, but he hadn't played a whole lot of snaps. All these guys are coming back now, and they've got like bone-biting experience. So for them, they understand it's just as important for those dudes behind me to get better as it is for me to get better. Why? Because defense is about, how fresh you can be. And you want Anthony, you want Buckner, you want those guys on the field in the fourth quarter. Right, man, but if you're getting gassed in the first and second, it becomes extremely tough. So functional depth is going to be a huge part of what, like the Killer Bees and the rest of this defensive front need to be able to do in 2025.
Part of the buzz around college football, and as this drops, we're getting ready for spring ball to start at middle.
Yeah.
The buzz around college football is that spring games are going to go away. This year, you're going to have what's called a spring showcase.
Right.
There are a lot of reasons behind that, and I think sometimes fans don't really understand. You have a very limited amount of time and days that your coaches can have their hands on players. And talk about why you all have chosen to go the route you're going with the spring showcase, and right now, what does that mean? What's that going to look like?
I think a lot of it has to do with the portal.
Right.
I mean, if you want to be honest, guys getting here a little later and you needing more time to develop. I mean, is it more important for us to play a game, or is it more important for these guys to get these practices? And
Right.
I
Because
think
the game actually takes away a practice.
It does. The
Right.
game takes away actually 2 practices.
Because you have to prep for the game.
There you go.
You
right?
have to do a walkthrough.
You have to do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, every rep matters. I think what you're going to see, hopefully here in the next couple of years, you're going to see more of a college football OTA model in the spring, where we're going to be like basketball during the offseason, and the spring's probably going to look like, us having just training hours all the way through the spring. And when the summer comes, when you really want your guys, okay, man, you're going to be able to go through OTAs and have these practices because most of your team will be here, right? Because you get most of your team in the summer. So it makes more sense in some ways, okay, to move towards an OTA model versus having a spring ball model, because everybody's concerned with injuries. Okay, if you can't hit in the summer, well, then you're not worried about injuries. And I think that's a huge part of it now with NIL. Are they going to get hurt? Me as a coach, I don't think that way. I think you need to find out how physical your team's going to be, right? And I think there's enough time for healing in this process. But I think what's happened, a lot of coaches have deferred the spring games because of the poaching.
Well, I was getting to that.
Yeah,
because there, there's a lot of this that coaches don't want to put those young players out there in a spring game, because all of a sudden somebody sees it on some YouTube channel. So, there's a good young tackle right there. There's a good young running back.
Right.
And the next thing you know, their phone's ringing because there's a portal window opening right after spring practice all across the country.
And that's the easy, low-hanging fruit, right?
Right.
Everybody says, hey, man, this portal window that's late is going to affect teams, and it will. If certain teams have injuries, okay, and they're looking at your spring game, they're looking at like your roster, everybody cherry picks. I mean, it's a domino effect, okay, and it all comes downhill. So that's something that coaches have talked about. But we're going to have a showcase. Our showcase is going to be like more of a practice, but it's going to be a situational practice. So, I mean, you really do get a chance to see them play live football. It's going to be live football. It's not going to be, tag or pulling flags. We're going to be out there hitting. So
Okay.
you're going to see backed up situations. You're going to see red zone situations. You're going to see, alumni zone situations coming out. All the situations that you see in a game, you're going to see okay, in sort of pronounced series, which is going to be good. But we're also going to do some cool stuff, right? Like we're going to have the Gridiron Gauntlet, okay, with some of our alumni, groups, and having those guys participate in a gauntlet of an obstacle course. We're going to put them in their jerseys and some cleats, and let's see what these guys can do as teams, sort of like what you see in the Pro Bowl.
Or you and I are old enough to remember Battle of the Network Stars.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be similar. We're actually going to pull in some next level, youth in this to do some punt, pass, and kick opportunities. I don't know if you saw the perfect punt like this year in the Pro Bowl, but we're going to do something like that for these little kids where they have to punt into barrels. So it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be something for everybody. And we're going to look to hopefully have our alumni back. We're going to do some things with sort of a soft showing of what we have partnering with Uncle Nearest. And we're also going to look to sort of preview a little bit of the SAPC, so that people have a chance to sort of come around, maybe get a walkthrough of what it could look like, what it should look like.
Well, speaking of that shiny new toy, talk a little bit about because there are handfuls of people, BRAA Sapphire Club members, people like that, who've had a chance to do some walkthroughs. Looks like you're going to be moving in late June, have it for July, get in there fully in July, have it for fall camp. What is that going to mean on a daily basis to your program? And I'm not talking about game day. I'm talking about the work day, every day.
Like I said earlier, we practice more than we play, right?
Right.
So we'll have new turf. We'll be in the stadium 12 times a year. But when you talk about your facility, okay, a team meeting room, okay, our individual position meeting rooms, recovery, weight room. Right now, because of our makeshift, we have 3 lift groups. Okay, when we get into the new building, we'll have 1, possibly 2 lift groups. Why? Because of the vast capacity that building has to be able to give us everything that we need. This is a game changer in every way possible. We're making do now, but the reality is this changes how we flow. It gives our student athletes time back. It puts more emphasis on recovery, okay, as well as being in the ball. It's hard to be in the ball when you don't have meeting rooms to be in the ball, right? So now we're in offices, we're huddling wherever we can to try to make it work. This is truly going to change Blue Raider football forever.
A couple of other quick hitters right here before we wrap it up. Number one, your boss man is now on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, Chris Massaro. What does that mean for the program? I think it obviously is a compliment to the program and the department.
Congratulations, Chris. Love you, big dog. We're in this space now where those appointments mean something. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I had a chance to go through a mock portion of that when I was with the SEC Network and ESPN. It's stressful. It looks fun, but there's a lot of late nights, a lot of conversations about what's happening.
And don't do it if you got a thin skin either.
Correct, because believe me, you're going to get it every week.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversations, but I think what it does, it also puts MTSU in the spotlight. Yeah. Okay, on the back half of the season, and we hope to be there anyway. But it's just that much more exposure for Blue Raider athletics, Blue Raider football.
Yeah, schedule's out. Yeah. To me, it seems, number one, all of your midweek games are on Wednesdays, which makes practice and scheduling and all of that a little easier. But I'm pretty excited about how things fall as the year goes along.
Yeah, the Wednesday schedule, I can get with that because it's consistent.
Yeah,
I'm good.
That's all coaches and players want.
Just consistency, right? But as we look at the schedule itself, I know a lot of people are excited about what it is. There's some unknowns. Delaware State's good football. Delaware's a good football team.
Yeah.
9-3 a year ago. They're making the jump from FCS, but they're a winning program. They know what to do. Missouri State last year 8-3, 8-4 in this process. It's not like these teams don't know how to play football. They do. And I think for us, we have to be ready to take on some of these teams as they're making the transition but it's still about winning Saturdays, right?
That's right.
So I like the schedule. I like the way it shapes up. The thing that we get a chance to do early is sort of put some things under our belt. Then we get a chance to go to Wisconsin and test our mettle a little bit, and from there, it's going to be interesting to see, how we handle what winning takes. Winning takes what winning takes, in championship teams do championship things. We continue to talk to our team about owning where we were. Who are we now? Mm-hmm. The journey, right? So that's what we're setting ourselves up for. Let's win days. Yep. That's what we're working on right now.
All right, you got some good days in spring ball coming up. Go win those.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. I know it's busy, but any parting shot you want to give the fans out there today?
Parting shot. Tell you, I just
hot take, anything?
No, you know what? The ball's gonna be the ball. I want people to, have an opportunity, as we go to April 12th, to come out, and see this showcase. But more importantly, you're gonna be there. You're gonna be there with us. I mean, the voice of Blue Raider football. That's pretty cool, because I know your schedule's been phenomenal. I know right now between basketball, men's and women's, this thing is hot, man. We're in the thick of a lot of things right now. So Blue Raiders making some noise in the spring. So here we go.
Let's just keep it rolling.
Come on.
All right, folks, that's going to be it with Coach Derek Mason today. Be sure to follow up on GoBlueRaiders.com and all the socials for everything that's upcoming. And don't forget the other thing. Be loud, be proud, be blue. See ya.